Man, why didn't Conquest just like stab over here or something? Season 4 of Invincible has already finished, and I know there's like other stuff I could talk about, which I might later, but I keep coming back and thinking about this fight with Conquest. Not that it was bad or anything, episode 5 was really fucking good, but I noticed from a lot of other people's reactions that, you know.
Would it better to like do that towards his chest where his heart is? Yeah, the oxygen must not be going to your brain, man. What?
So I really thought about this moment for a bit. Why didn't Conquest go in for the kill, and how did Invincible exactly win this fight? Except for, you know, being the main character. Spoilers ahead, obviously, for the shows and comics, but I'm not gonna talk any further than what's been shown on TV, okay? So, first thing, how did Conquest get choked out when, like, the whole Viltrumite thing is that, you know, how do I breathe in space? Mark. Well, in the comics actually, Mark specifically mentions over there that slamming him down to the ground knocked the air out of him. They even go in space for a bit before coming back down to this planet to go through the final altercation. Also, people mention, and this is probably what happened, that Mark was not only stopping the airflow through his lungs, but the blood as well. This is known in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or other combat sports as a blood choke. This significantly slows down the blood flow to the brain and will eventually lead you to going unconscious. Conquest's eyes going red in this scene is actually a good indicator of this. Not saying that this always happens in a blood choke, but I found studies noting that covering the left internal carotid artery, or just the left side of your neck, can cause your eye to not get enough oxygen, leading to bleeding spots and very swollen blood vessels, which you see happen to Conquest here. They actually do a little fuck up, the eyes are red and then it just goes back to normal. Now another thing I'll talk about later is why Conquest just didn't go in for the kill on Mark, but I'll be more specific and focus on what was supposed to be the final blow to him. The whole knife hand technique that Viltrumites use. We've seen it multiple times and even have it be acknowledged by some of the characters, cause they know this shit can be an instant kill. I can't show too many clips, but whenever it is used, it seems to almost cut through anything in its path. And a lot of people, myself included, wondered why Conquest didn't just use that to stop Mark. I know he does it in the fight scene, but it would have worked way better if it hit his arms or even his chest. But something that I've been theorizing is that although the knife hands are pretty powerful, there is one drawback in using it, which I don't see a lot of people talking about. I didn't even notice this when I first watched it, but in season 3 episode 7 of Invincible, the Invincible War, there's actually a very subtle detail which shows the flaws of this attack. The only issue is that you can barely notice this, and look, it's not exactly the most damning evidence, but I still think it's worth pointing out. After an altercation with Tech Jacket, which she wins, the mustache Invincible variant can be seen with broken fingers. I wonder how that could be. Now I could be wrong because I don't know too much about Tech Jacket, but the suit's main weapons relies on firearms. So how could this happen? The fingers are bent, kinda like the tip of a knife when it hits a surface it can't cut, which means that although this is a powerful move, the knife hand technique can actually fail and injure the user. If we continue on with this train of thought, you do wonder, where else can this fail? And I believe that the bones of a Viltrumite is one of them, which is why Conquest can't exactly just slice off Mark's arms or go through the ribcage. It's too dense and it wouldn't cut through. There has been other times though where Conquest did snap a bone from Mark, but this includes him doing a long ass wind up, and as you can see, it doesn't fully cut through. So going from Mark's arms here or even the chest area would be much harder, and so it makes sense why Viltrumites always go for the gut. I know there's a spine there, but I'm gonna assume that the stab missed Mark. I know it doesn't look like it, but come on, if it did penetrate Mark's spine in the scene, he'd be very much dead very quickly. The drawbacks in using the knife hand is interesting to think about, but there is some consistency issues, like how in season 4 episode 2, you can see young Nolan was able to slice through all the joints in the hand of his dad, which is kind of all bones. I could argue there's more of a wind up here, but again, this whole knife hand thing is just an idea of mine, or a theory.
But hey, that's just a theory.
Also, Conquest was low-key not letting the blood flow to his brain, which is not good. Maybe he didn't even know what he was doing. Maybe he was just like thinking he was unwrapping a present, guys. Okay, but seriously, the last thing, and probably the most viable one here, is that if Conquest were to go all out against Mark, it would kind of go against his character, you know, and that's what makes him so interesting. We may perceive him as just some ruthless guy that follows orders, but we obviously know there's more to it. Back at the end of season 3, when the two first met and the show made it obvious how not ready Mark was for this, Conquest was literally encouraging him to not give up, not wanting this to be over so soon. Now this makes sense since he said that this is what he enjoys. This is what Conquest lives for. It is quite literally his purpose, to conquest, either a place or a people. And so completing a conquest so quickly would only make him have to wait longer for him to do it again later. He's done it for so long, and as we now know, halfway through the season 3 finale, he's not really too sure what he's gonna do without it. When he says that he wants Mark to resist, and when he destroys cities, I do think he is enjoying what he does, but not for the reasons you might think. Conquest does this because in all of his life, this is the only time when he can be free. In Viltrum, he's always held back. He's always been the loneliest one. He quite literally has nothing else but this, and he hates that. He'd cry if he could, but he isn't even sure if he could do that anymore. He's so stripped from his own emotions, and it just leaves him as a husk or a shell of a person. And so with that, he continues his given purpose, not because he necessarily likes it, but because it fulfills something that he could never find, a reason to live. So to rush any of this would honestly hurt Conquest even more, because then, after all of this, he'd have to deal with his own emotions that creep up on him, and whether or not this is something that he truly likes, or if he's just been living a lie this entire time. And that, to me at least, is the main reason why I think Conquest holds back so much with Mark. As well as the fact that Mark is probably his most interesting battle in centuries, a Viltrumite raised on Earth who's so against the customs of his people that it doesn't even feel right to call him part Viltrumite. He's everything he wishes he could be, someone with their own purpose. Even at the end of season 3, you kinda just see him give up at the end, letting Mark bash his head in. He does have enough fight left in him, but what then? Just go back to more waiting? More of just living a lie? Or could this just be an easy way out? And so with that, Conquest dies. But also not really.
The boy left me alive. Stupid.
I wanted to play that clip in its entirety because his dialogue highlights one important thing. The boy left him alive, meaning that he doesn't actually know that Mark did want to kill him, but instead thinks he spared him. In the comics, when Invincible and Conquest meet up, it's something pretty similar to the show, but Conquest actually details how he was kept alive, specifying that someone was stupid enough to think they could contain him. So he knows that Mark didn't do it. However, in the TV show, their conversation is a lot shorter, with Mark thinking that he killed him and Conquest replying with,
Let's be honest, it was mostly your magic girlfriend.
When I watched this, thinking from Conquest's perspective in the show, to him it would have just been him fighting Mark, to Eve completely decimating his body, and then Mark again to finish him off, but sometime later he wakes up alive, so he escapes and goes back to Thrag. Then he meets Mark for a second time, as well as his friends. So to Conquest, he never really saw Invincible as a threat, since to him, Mark never actually had the balls to kill him, and so it makes sense on why he never took the fight seriously with him. As Alan said when asked about the weakness for Viltrumite, he responds with,
Yeah, there he goes. That's about it.
I think them including this was really smart because it's not an actual line from the comic, so they know they're setting this up to explain why Conquest lost to Mark. He really didn't think he had it in him. I mean, he basically did the same thing to his
Magic girlfriend.
and she got completely folded from that, so doing it to Mark would have been good to not exactly kill him, but to make the battle a long and suffering experience for Mark. If Mark just died right there, it wouldn't have been fun. But even the attack and unwrapping his present, Mark still wasn't giving in, which is when Conquest finally had the realization that, oh shit, I'm actually done for, and so loses. Not technically to Mark though, I assume that Omni-Man and Oliver dealt the final blows, but nonetheless, he still loses. This might be a stretch, but I do feel that Conquest seemed oddly okay with it, you know? Like the season 3 finale, there was no panicking with his death, as in, oh shit, I'm gonna die kind of energy. He kinda just lets it happen.
I think the good with the bad.
Maybe just losing to an opponent who had more of a desire to win was respectable, maybe, and he felt that he could just let it all end right there. A lot of discussions online flip around a lot on whether or not Conquest losing was bad writing or good. I can see both sides, and honestly, Invincible's power scaling can really suck sometimes. Usually, it just depends on the big moments in my opinion. Like for example, Alan can hurt Anissa in season 2, but then gets boxed up by 2 Viltrumites in season 4, episode 5, and then somehow does really well at a 3v1 in season 4, episode 7. Like, these things don't technically add up. I do notice though that for the fight scenes that are kind of just there in the background for Invincible, it's either just person punches or gets punched. It never really deviates from there unless it's a big moment like with Thrag, but overall, this fight scene is still pretty good. If you're still a little mixed on how to feel about this fight, then that's totally fine. The good and bad thing about art is that no set opinion is the correct opinion, only the one which we, the people, agree is the best. So whatever I say about the knife hands and the character of Conquest might not be 100% correct, they're just ideas. ideas that are not necessarily true, but they're still something you can use to get your own right answer. I'm definitely going to do more analysis videos of other shows I've had in mind, as well as just upload more anyways, so if you like what you're watching, then I'd appreciate it if you could join my membership. It's $7.50 a month for stickers, longer and uncensored videos like this one, as well as live streams later. I would also just really appreciate it since I like doing YouTube in general and would love all the support I can get so I can spend more time working on other cool videos and stuff. If you can't, then that's totally fine. I appreciate you for sticking to the end anyways, but yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Peace.